The 2002 FIFA World Cup is peculiar, being the first of its kind. The first World Cup in Asia and the first hosted by two countries, South Korea and Japan, with the former experiencing a controversial and arguably illegitimate way to the semi-finals. If that wasn't enough, this World Cup also saw a different format used when it came to determining the round of 16 brackets. Usually, the Group A winner would face the Group B runner-up, the Group C winner would face the Group D runner-up, and so on. But now it was different. This means the knockout stage pairings would have been different if the standard format was used, which could have possibly affected the outcome of the tournament, or not. That's what we're here to find out. The round of 16 pairings looked like this in our timeline, with Brazil ultimately beating Germany in the final. If the standard pairing format was used, it would have looked like this. Let's examine how this difference could have potentially affected the tournament's outcome. These new fixtures will be predicted on a basis of probability, meaning if a team is deemed more likely to beat another, if only by a 0.1% margin, they will be pronounced victors. This probability will be determined by a combination of a team's group stage performance and the general quality of the squad. Using this logic, Denmark, Brazil, Mexico, Spain, Turkey and Italy would probably advance to the quarterfinals. Turkey beat South Korea in 2002, so they are pronounced winners in this tie by default. Italy were subpar in the group stage, but they have a historical tendency to get their act together for the knockout phase, and are labeled winners against host Japan on those grounds. Despite Mexico's fifth game curse, their group stage display was so solid that they have to be regarded as marginal favorites against Belgium. The two remaining fixtures are toss-ups, Germany versus England and Sweden versus the Republic of Ireland. Germany obtained 2 more points than England in the group stage, but that can be attributed to Die Mannschafts group being easier. We have to look elsewhere to distinguish the two, like their most recent fixtures. The Three Lions won 5-1 in Munich less than a year prior. A German win is of course possible, but England should still be regarded as marginal favorites. Sweden won the group of death and should thus be considered slight favorites against the Republic of Ireland. This would set up the following quarter-final ties. Brazil, England, Spain and Italy would most likely advance to the semi-finals, using the previously mentioned probability logic. La Roja won't have to wait until 2010 for the quarter-final curse to end. It's also worth pointing out that this was a strong Mexican side that would have been challenging for England. These quarter-final results would put Brazil against England and Spain against Italy in the final four. Brazil are automatically labeled winners against England because they really did beat the Three Lions in 2002. Spain's superior group stage performance makes them slight favorites against Italy, even though the Azzurri of course also could win. The hypothetical third place playoff between England and Italy is a deadlock. However, Italy defeated England away in a friendly 3 months before the tournament, which functions as a tiebreaker here. England's poor penalty shootout record doesn't help their case either, nor does their historically poor major tournament record against the Italians. Brazil won all matches at the 2002 World Cup, and it's doubtful any team in the world could have beat them, including a strong Spanish side. Brazil were simply the best team in the world, and would have likely reigned supreme against La Roja in this speculative final. Now for the more controversial part of the video. What about South Korea's arguably illegitimate way to the semi-finals? Some people argue that South Korea's group stage win against Portugal also was illegitimate, but it's not nearly as obvious if so. So when it comes to the alternate scenario in this video, South Korea will still be regarded as group winners. It's further worth noting that South Korea would have won the group even if they didn't beat Portugal. But their knockout stage ties against Italy and Spain are entirely different stories. There's an excellent Planet Football article written by Phil Ivanuik that proves that Italy was robbed, but watching any video compilation of that match would yield the same conclusion. Italy were not giving a penalty for Kim Tae-jung's elbow in Alessandro Del Piero's face. Nothing was done about Lee Chun-so kicking Paolo Maldini in the head. As 90 minutes were approaching, Francesco Totti was incorrectly given his second yellow card for diving, even though he didn't, and it should have even been a penalty for Italy. This meant that instead of winning 2-1 in 90 minutes with a full team, Italy went into extra time with 10 men. As the end of extra time was approaching, Damiano Tommasi's goal was wrongly ruled to be offside. and Italy's tournament ended unjustly. If this wasn't enough, referee Byron Moreno was arrested in 2010 for smuggling heroin. While that doesn't necessarily mean he was a corrupt referee, it's certainly a red flag to say the least. In the quarterfinals, it was Spain's turn to fall victim to wrongfully disallowed goals, enabling South Korea to eventually win on penalties. Had it not been for Moreno's incompetent refereeing display, Italy and Spain would have faced off in the quarterfinals. My gut is saying Italy would win, but I'm actually gonna listen to my brain instead and label Spain as triumphant in this hypothetical match. Spain were much better in the group stage, and Italy had been unusually bleak throughout the tournament. Yes, Spain would break their Game 5 curse. Then I think La Roja would have beaten Germany in the semifinals. Even though the Germans actually did reach the final in our timeline, they weren't great. They mostly did it due to an unusually easy knockout stage bracket, combined with Oliver Kahn having the tournament of his life. Overall, Spain had been better than them until controversially succumbing to South Korea. However, in the final, Brazil would most certainly win. They were just too good. For the record, I also think the same thing would have happened if Italy beat Spain, defeating Germany only to lose against Brazil in the final.